Good morning, guys. How's everybody doing?
Very well, thanks. How about you?
Hi.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hey, John. Hey, Robert.
Marilyn.
Hey,
Hi,
Fran.
how are you?
Colleen.
Miss you, Amy.
Yes, I miss you as well.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning.
Oh, good morning. It must be Friday.
Morning.
Good
How's
morning.
everybody doing?
Good.
So, Frank, do you want to do a quick mortgage minute here while we wait for the rest of us to join here?
Sure. Good morning, everybody.
Actually, Frank, before you go, I want to just set the stage for somebody to share. Like, if you have a structure or a routine in your business, okay, I'd like you to maybe put yourself on camera and share with me what your routine is, because that's the heart of what I'm going to go through after Frank finishes. So go, Frankie.
Good morning, everybody. It's been a wild ride this week in the bond market. Rates been up, down. A lot of it is due to the instability of the tariffs and what their, what type of reasoning behind them and the cause of them and the effect of them. So it's been a little bit of a bumpy ride. We had the 10-year go from 427 to over 440, and that's, again, we benchmark our rates according to the 10-year. So it's been a little bit crazy, and I feel that if the clients are happy with the rates, I suggest that you should lock in. And I've been talking to a lot of clients and have been taking the advice of locking in, because the rates go from anywhere between 6.75% to 7 to 7.25%. That 0.5% in rate can make a big difference in a payment. It can increase the rate by a few $100s a month. So my advice is, in this market, if you're happy with the rate that was disclosed, lock in, and then even with the pre-approvals, talking about the pre-approvals, that 0.25% or 0.5% increase in rate will bring down your buying power. So if you're pre-approved to 700,000, you might now be pre-approved to 650, especially with the instability in the market. So I always try to just talk about the rates to the clients, give them the option. I never tell anybody what to do, but give them the option and just give my advice. But again, we're just going to have to ride this wave until they figure out. I guess the market was a little bit pleased with the Trump saying that he's not going to, fire Powell. So I guess the market felt good about that. Stocks rallied the other day. Market is a little bit, it's actually doing okay today. But again, it's going to be the same thing over the next couple of weeks until we see what goes on. Is just, let's talk about locking in if the clients are happy. So a lot of other things too. There's some first-time home buyer programs out there that do have no money down options with no income limitations or no specific targeted area. So if anybody's interested, in that, there are some no money down payment options, and the money does not have to be repaid. So just wanted to talk about that, as well as a lot of investors are going to what's called a DSCR loan, which, as long as you put 20 or 25% down, we don't qualify the borrower. They have to have good credit, 680 or higher, but they can buy an investment property with 20 or 25% down. And we don't qualify the borrower, we qualify the property. So that's been a real popular product, as well as bank statement loans. We take a 12-month average of deposits for self-employed borrowers, and we qualify the income based off of their deposits. So those are two hot products right now, along with the first-time homebuyer program. So if anybody has any questions regarding those, reach out, just reach out, and we'll be more than happy to, discuss the options with you and your clients. So with that, Rob, back to you.
All right. So, who got into real estate because of the flexibility it gives you? Raise your hand if that's you. All right. So, isn't it both a blessing and a curse?
I know that's the wrong answer to raise my hand.
Right, but it's both a blessing and a curse at the same time, because sometimes we need to build in a little bit of structure to have a more consistent outcome and to avoid, the highs and lows and the frustration that's inherent in the business. So I was talking with Tom Toole. You guys remember Tommy, right? He was on a couple of our masterminds. and he runs the largest Remax team in Pennsylvania and Delaware. And he was telling me about his commitment to a routine. But who wants to share with me if you have structure in your business, or what level of structure you have in your business? Well, somebody has to be a volunteer here. Like, I'm looking at Newman there, and there's a veteran that's been doing the business for a really, really long time at a high level.
I've seen people who stick to a really good routine, so I'd be embarrassed to put my daily schedule up against people who have the calendar with blocks. But I think that's the thing, is committing to 2 hours for prospecting every day is kind of the goal. And for me, my biggest routine is waking up consistently 6:30, getting my girls ready off to school, and then
No, can you do
answering
this
emails at
for
8.
now, please? Because I cannot hear them.
Karma, were you talking to us?
No, I'm so sorry. No.
Yeah, you can mute. Go ahead. Go ahead, finish up, Johnny.
Oh no, that's where I was going. Just it's waking up early, being in front of the computer, responding at 8 o'clock on emails, and my day does fluctuate, but I try to block 2 hours where I'm trying to find business and connect with old clients, and just 2 hours of prospecting a day.
So I was trying to recruit a loan officer with Mr. Tyler Lee, and I see him on here, and we met them in our Tucson location, and I was very impressed by their commitment to a schedule. As a matter of fact, the commitment to the schedule built in a tremendous amount of loyalty, which kind of made our opportunity off the table. You remember that, Tyler? And the individual was so committed and certain. He was like, well, on Mondays, we call all the people that we spoke to over the weekend. On Tuesdays, we update everybody that's in the pipeline. On Wednesdays, we call all the people that haven't purchased. On Thursdays, I talk to all my real estate partners. And they have a 4-hour time block, and they have a particular mission, and the entire group comes into the office. Yes, even in 2024, 2025, they actually physically show up to the office, hold themselves accountable, and they have one thing that they focus on that particular morning. And that's not for an hour. They do it for like 4 or 5 hours. And I was so taken back and impressed by how that structure and that commitment and that connection with the rest of his group made him so loyal to the company, and also helped him be more successful. So somebody like a Tom Toole, or I was also watching another social influencer. I forget her first name, last name was Lugo. And she was saying that one of the biggest changes that she was able to implement or affect with her team and her peers was simply getting up earlier. And I know that's very unpopular, but she said, look, I get up at 5:30 every morning. I have kids. I need to do these things. I do my email. I do the things that aren't time critical, right? And things that are frustrating when you have a lot of interruptions. Okay. Because we all have other things that creep into our life. Talking to Tom Toole, he still does a 5 a.m. call with his accountability partner. And I think it's like the 5 a.m. call. I think even, outsiders could probably even hop into that call. But he believes that that makes sure that he's up and out of bed and in the right mindset to start his day. Okay, it's like a time check. So so he starts at 5 a.m. and then he has an 8 o'clock call with his team leader to kind of set up what the day is going to consist of. In between there, he takes his kids to school. So he has a really powerful routine. Then when he gets in after his 8 o'clock meeting with his team leader, he's on the phone making calls. And he starts making calls early. Okay, preferably 8:10 after his team leader call. And that's every single day. And that's the power of a routine. And I think everybody could could, wake up a little bit earlier. Everybody could do a little bit more structure in their business. And the person that I'm trying to think of the book where they talked about the rocks and the sand and the pebbles. If Dursa was here, he's a big fan of it. But anyway, so there's an analogy where you take a bunch of rocks, you put it into a big glass bowl, and the bowl appears to be full, right? But you put some smaller pebbles in there, and you can fit them in there. And then lastly, if you put sand in there, it fills up everything. So you might think your day is full, but if you're intentional, you can add, items around the big blocks that you're doing. Okay. And, when I was talking to Tom about like doing personal transactions, which he still does, which amazes me, he said that he has some rules that he adopted early on, which is never goes to appraisals, never goes to home inspections. He says, it's controversial, but you can spend hours at a home inspection and, your clients, he's like, I don't think I've ever lost a deal because my client felt I didn't care and didn't attend the home inspection. He said that my value that more than offsets that is I make sure that I return all my calls at a certain point in time. That's built into his schedule, right? I'm sure we all have times that we feel overwhelmed, right? Who feels like they're at max capacity? Anybody? Jeff Bretzer, are you at max capacity? Or you're on the phone, I'm sorry. You're muted, sir.
I'm sorry.
I
The
was
answer is
asking
no.
you know, right?
No, I'm not
do
at max capacity.
you ever feel like overwhelmed or?
Yeah, but not necessarily because of real estate. I've been kind of busy lately with a project of my wife's, so that's
Okay.
taken a lot of energy.
All right, so if you had, and I don't know if you block the time to work on these other projects, but a lot of us also do other things. Like some people flip houses, some people wholesale, some people have other side gigs, and I would say, and I'll say it confidently, that if you have structure and you build in the time, you can get a lot of stuff done. And one of our rookies of the year, probably 7 or 8 years ago, still with us. He's a chairman's club producer every single year. He was dropping down on his like second full year with us after making platinum his first year. And I just sat down with him. I'm like, so what's going on? And I was just going through the process, and I actually said, I don't see you as much in the office. He's like, yeah, I kind of get up a little bit later, kind of don't go to the gym as regularly. And he basically broke his routine. And just from having a conversation and holding him accountable, and saying, hey, I haven't seen you in the office. I don't want to give away the name, but haven't seen you in the office. Where you been, when he's not showing up. That created a cadence of accountability, where he would be coming in the office more frequently, and we got him back on track to Titan Club the following year, and numerous times at Diamond, which is $1 million. And it's about commitment to the process. Okay. Who reviews their goals regularly or has them posted, somewhere where you see them, hopefully daily or at least weekly? So David, Tricia, Ron, anybody else? Karma.
We have it on our board in our office.
Okay. I mean, if you're not, continually processing, digesting your goals, you're going to find yourself getting lost at time. I know Jeff's a pilot. As a pilot, you're always adjusting based upon the winds and the direction, and you're probably off course a fair amount of time. I don't know if that's true, Jeff. when you're flying? Are you off course a lot, or are you
Absolutely
making
not.
Are you making micro adjustments, or what happens?
I don't touch the controls.
You're on autopilot,
The-
huh?
Yeah, and it's down to the GPS. It's down to a NATS rear end. So no, never off course.
Does the autopilot keep making adjustments as the conditions change, or is it like,
Absolutely.
okay, so it's constantly making, adjustments without even thinking.
Yeah, you got autopilot, you got auto throttles to control the speed, and everything happens automatically until you disconnect.
Fantastic. Does
The
anybody?
old saying is I've never ever been lost, but there's times where they've misplaced the airport on.
Okay, that's a good one. Is there anybody that has an accountability partner that you check in at least weekly? Could be a spouse, anybody? Trish, Trisha, who's your accountability partner?
From Path to Platinum, our group here in Arizona, we meet every Monday morning and review what we've done for the past week.
And how do you feel that helps you either feel like you're more in control of your business or actually get more done? Can you assess that?
Yes, because we share what we've accomplished over the last week.
Okay. And, chances are, if you're somebody that's not doing what you're supposed to do, you'll probably check out of that meeting because you won't want to show up and say, I didn't do what I was supposed to do. And there's
Right.
a psychology behind that. Alex, is that the meeting, to have everybody try to complete everything before they show up for the Monday meeting, and that's providing a boost to productivity and probably even your mental state?
Yeah, I think we're in a competitive business, and I think we feed off of good energy. And if we're doing it all by ourselves, it can be really lonely. But if we have peers and colleagues that we work closely with, that we push each other, then we can do more together. So that's the purpose behind it, for sure.
Does anybody have a day of the month where you review what your monthly production was and size up how you've been doing? I'm gonna guess maybe Ron does that. Do you review with Ryan like where you are each month?
Yeah, we do. Even though we're hustling to try to get more listings, it's been a task, but we're starting to move the needle a little bit more now. So and it just takes prospecting, and you just can't give up. We get so frustrated sometimes when Ryan does all his calls. He looks at me and he just gives me this look. I said, well, keep on doing it, because all the no's you're going to get a yes. But we're moving forward.
Fantastic. And Ron, what do you measure each month? Just the closings, or do you measure the input that's going to get you more closing? The pipeline, the calls?
Definitely the input. The closings are the cherry on the cake. Okay, but the input that you put in to get to that point is what you really need to do.
Gotcha. And I see Tony. Are you able to talk for 1 minute? Tony Bureau?
Yes, I am with you.
So Tony, for some of the newer agents, how long have you been in the business?
This is my 42nd year. I've been in the business since 1983.
32 years. And was 2024 or the last 12 months much better than prior years?
Oh, yes. Well, real estate, it's what you put in. That's what you reap what you sow, like they say. You gotta
Right.
be, disciplined. You gotta be consistent, and then you gotta have intensity that you gotta have. You cannot be just wishy-washy. That you can.
So you're not on cruise control after 32 years?
No, I get off the wagon like I have been in the last 3-4 months. that I have been. So now I am getting back on track because my routine is very simple. I get up at 4:30 in the morning. I go to the gym at 7
Wait, wait,
o'clock.
wait. What time do you get up at?
At 4:30.
AM or PM?
No, that's AM. Yeah. At 5 o'clock, I am at the gym. At 7 o'clock, I'm at my desk preparing for my calls. At 8 o'clock, I started, and I go to noon. So everybody knows not to bother me until noon unless they want to buy or sell real estate. And then
And Tony, you know offhand like how many units and what volume you did the last year?
last year, I think I did about 30 of them, and by myself. I have no help or anything. What do you call it? And my gross was over $300,000. That was so. I can do better than that. My goal is to do 50 deals. That to do a $10,000 piece. That would be $500,000 in my pocket, and that would make me happy.
Well, I think that you are capable and disciplined enough to do that. And Tony, do you prospect like 1 or 2 days a week or every day? What's your
Monday
routine?
to Friday from 8 o'clock to noon. You start with the expired first, and then with the canceled, and then with the FISBO, and then I do the past clients because I have 900 on my sphere of influence. So that's a gold mine there that you cannot forget. And then before the 12 o'clock there, I do the lead follow up. At noon, usually I have my lunch, and 1 o'clock, I'm back at it again.
So 300. So you basically averaging $1,000 or more a day for what you put yourself through, and probably you're capable of doing 2,000 a day at the 500 plus. And
Yeah, the business is very simple. People make it complicated, but it's nothing complicated about it. You just
how
gotta.
how many days a week do like showings or other things eliminate your morning prospecting? Is it 1 or 2 days a week or rarely?
Well, what you call that, right? It depends. Sometimes you have a difficult situation that either the seller or the buyer, they make it difficult for it. And so if I have to take care of it, I'll take care of it. I'll take care of it. So I try to, like I said, everybody knows not to bother me in the morning until noon. I am not there. I am not there because I have to concentrate on getting listings. Because listings is the name of the game. Like one man told me one day, he said, Tony, have you seen anybody stop at the empty car lot to buy a car? I said, no. The same thing with you. If you don't have listings, you're out of business. I said, oh, really? That's the way it works. And that's what I've been doing it.
Very good.
The other thing is that I want to say is that I see, because you got to emulate, you got to look up and you got to watch, the who is successful, why these people are so successful. And I see that two things. One, they are very intense on doing what they're doing in anything. They're very, very intense. They're very, very focused. And the other thing is that they don't waste time. Every minute, every second is very precious to them. So if you can get to that level, then the sky is the limit.
Yeah, I do you get a lot of rejection with these calls, Tony?
Oh, sure. Yeah. When I get on my routine there, my goal is to get one appointment a day, one appointment a day, one appointment a day. And it doesn't matter what they say, what they do. I try to get the appointment every day, every day, every day. That's my goal. Because if you have an appointment every day, out of 5 days, you're probably going to get a couple of listings, 2 out of 5 or 3 out of 5. And then you should be happy with that.
The interesting thing is, Tony, is nobody knows when you're cold calling, nobody knows how much success or how new you've been when you're making those calls, do they?
Well, certainly you got to start, like I said, with the low hanging fruits. The low hanging fruits is that they expired, they canceled, they get FISBO. And a lot of agents, they hate that. But I train myself every day to get better on that, to get better, because you got to practice, practice, and practice. If you don't practice, I see that when I get off the wagon for a few days or a few weeks, what you call there, right? You forget that you forget. So you need to practice, 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 because that will make you feel confident and comfortable to talk to people, and that will make you successful. That will make successful, because you need to talk to people. This business is talking to people. If you don't talk to people, nothing happens.
Yeah. And
Hey, Rob,
yeah.
I just want to mention that, Lee Brown always says that when she has her agents making cold calls, the first call should always be to a family member or a friend, just to get you in the mood to talking, to having a conversation. And then the next call that you make as a cold call is a lot easier. So I'm just.
Oh,
putting
sure.
that
In the morning to warm up. Yeah, if somebody, has a problem with that, yes, that's what Mike Ferry says there. He said, if you want to warm up, just call 10 past people, 10 past clients, or 10 of your friends. Hey, who do you know that would like to buy or sell real estate today? So they laugh at you, you laugh at them, and you warm yourself up, and then you go into the tough one.
Yep. Well, Tony, I know maybe the year before, which probably was a little bit of a stronger year, and you followed it up with a better year. So, I have a lot of respect for that. And 32 years, still sticking to your routine. Many of us aren't as disciplined, and I'm not being critical,
No, it's true. Like you said before with your question, that was the perfect question when you said, "How many of you get into the business because it's flexible?" Mike Ferry makes a joke out of it. Yeah, you get into business because you need a new couch, and once you get the new couch, you don't work anymore. So a lot of people, the problem with a lot of realtors is that they don't treat the business as a business. They think they come and they go whenever they please. And that's what the upside down of a realtor is that they are not consistent, at the high level.
I think, Tony, a lot of the people that succeed in this business, are coming from the client service and loving real estate, but not coming from like a hardcore prospecting background, right? I think if the business hired a lot more solar telemarketers, they would be more disciplined to making the calls, and maybe teach those individuals how to do real estate might be easier than, breaking the habit of people who love to help clients, but maybe don't have the personal time blocking to do the activities that will get the people in front of you. Right? Because I think the hard part is what you're doing, Tony, identifying the people that you can serve, right? I think a lot of us are much more comfortable with, all right, I have my neighbor's son wants to buy their first house. Like, I've known him I know Johnny since he was 4, and it's a give me, right? We all love that part, right? I think the part of the business we don't love is the prospecting and the rejection. I think the other part we don't love is we don't love the structure, because like we want to have the flexibility.
Well, the problem with the real estate is because is that a lot of these agents, first of all, the new agents, they need to understand this is a sales job. So you got to sell yourself every day. So they need to be trained. That to be a salespeople, that they need to be trained. And the problem of our industry is that these people, they are not trained. I have a problem here that almost was called racist, and I had to call Elizabeth to clarify that, because in Fort Lauderdale now we have people that from Miami, and nothing against it, because I came off the boat, so I understand where they're at, and I did not speak English either when I came here. So, but now I didn't know that they can get a license in Spanish. don't have to know English. So when they come up here or they talk to people that they don't speak Spanish, we stop. And I said, why is that? Yeah, and that's because I find out from Elizabeth that they give a what do you call the test in Spanish. I said, how is that going to help the public and the consumer?
Right, but Tony, like if there's a Spanish community, that's a good thing. And then if we're adaptive, you're not going to be cold calling to people that don't speak English. But if there are other people that only speak Spanish, you can get Google Translate and you can try to find a way to serve the customers where they're at.
No, but I'm
so that's
talking about the agents.
no, I understand. I understand that. But I'm saying,
agents that they get a license that they can sell everywhere in Florida that they can sell, and the contract is in English. The laws are in English. I understand if somebody speaks Italian like me, I am helpful to them. But I need to know what the heck is said that this contract is saying.
Right. So
that's what I was.
In 2025 through Google Translate, you can get a little bit adaptive with that, and that's really kind of a little bit off the target here. But somebody like that.
Hi. I'd like to thank everyone for sharing with us, what is their activity. It's definitely, it's such a gift for everybody. I want to share also my day with you. And so since everybody contributing, I like also to contribute something. I wake up 5:30 in the morning, and from 5:30 to 6 o'clock, I read the Bible. From 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, that is my exercise. From 7 o'clock until 8 o'clock, I actually get dressed to be on my desk making a phone call at 8 o'clock, from 8 to 10. And you know what? This is the time I feel, this is my hours that I feel I am worth it, at least minimum $200 an hour. So when I make this phone call, it's amazing. I feel this is the time, the most productive time for me. And Monday, I do a meeting with my assistant, and she say, okay, what we did not do, and what we must do to improve our activity. And every day that from 8 to 10, that's my phone call. And I start whatever I have to leave, this is the 2 hours that I do every day. Saturday, I should say from 2 o'clock, this is the time I make phone call to one of my, the people, a new client. On Sunday, I go to church. And after the church, if I have an open house, if I don't have an open house, I go and visit for sale by owner for an open house. And that is my day in the meantime. So I agree with everybody about when you have a system, you will stick. If you get out your system, definitely you would not actually do what you need to do or accomplish your goal.
And Karma, how many years have you been in the business?
Long time ago, since 1987.
Okay, so you've been approaching, well over 30 years.
Right. And I'm still enjoying it.
And what's your production level been?
Well, last year, usual my I should say my average 300 and up. Last year was not a good year for me for other personal reason, but I'm feeling 25. It's a great year.
Gotcha. So here are some individuals that have been in the business a very long time that have a rigid structure that ensures that their production is consistent. Okay. And I have a lot of respect for a lot of different ways that people generate business, and I look at a person like John Newman who does a ton of business. And John, you have less structure to that, right?
Yeah, probably one of my weak spots. I spend a lot of time on non-money making things, but I like being in front of people. So I do like to go to the home inspections, and you know, I probably could use a little bit more structure in my business, but I like that it changes every day.
So is the reason you go to home inspections because if not you, who? Is that why? Or
Yeah,
because you want to?
I like to know what the problem is. It's part of my pitch when I talk to the sellers that I'm involved from start to finish. And when there is a problem, I like to have my eyes on it at the time, but that's a personal thing. I know it's not a money-making thing. It's just part of my, thing I tell people I'm start to finish.
So who likes the title real estate consultant better than salesperson? If you're on there, raise your hand if you do. Okay. Mike Furr would be very disappointed in all of you. Because Tony, you know this, and Karma, you might even know this, but he's like, you're a salesperson. And when you put it in your title, it changes your behavior, right? Because we shouldn't be ashamed of being in sales. Okay, sales is a lot of prospecting. A lot of prospecting means that we need to have broad shoulders to take a lot of rejection, right? We can prospect different ways, but we need to be in the sales business, okay? And persistency, consistent behavior, having an appropriate amount of follow-up and persistence. I'm looking up in my Hollywood Square corner. I see Abe Himmelstein, probably one of the most tenacious people I know in the business, in terms of you're reaching out, calling, setting up follow-ups. Abe, how many times do people join the first time you call them?
A few, but eventually they come around. When you're speaking about this, attitude affects income and affects results. Every day I wake up with the following statement: what am I doing today to create a possibility? That's my catalyst. That keeps me going. Yeah, I'm turned down. So the next time I'll call, listen, I've had a call and you know about this. I called a lady. She hung up on me. The next time I called her, she says, you know what? I got to meet with you. You and I met with her. So, we start off by putting ourselves, being vulnerable, being open. So you get shut down once. So the next one will be more positive. I'm not worried about being turned down because the name of the game is go forward, my friend, and see what the results will be.
I think, despite the fact that a lot of people don't love getting recruiting calls, I think, Abe, the people that we've met, I think they have a tremendous amount of respect for the structure and consistency you have in following up with them. And you might not see that, but as a third person in the communication, I'm like, hearing it over and over again. Abe is always following up. He's, he never drops the ball on that. And I know a lot of times we get solicitations that are annoying. But if you're working with somebody and you're constantly following up with them and they get a little bit edgy, I would say, do you want somebody that's not, doesn't have good follow-up skills, that's not committed to the process? And then you can turn that conversation right around when you have that conversation with your clients. Because nobody wants somebody who doesn't return calls and doesn't have good follow-up skills.
I gotta say this, Rob. I've had many people say, you're very persistent. That's my job. You know what? And they appreciate you, the fact that you keep trying. Remember, if first you don't succeed, try again.
Yep. And, at least my experience with you, Abe, has been we've not had, at least me personally, I've not had anybody that we've onboarded that kept the first appointment, joined the first time. It's always scheduling the next activity and following up and following up and following up, right? It's the not exciting part of the business that drives the results.
Being turned down is only a step to go forward. That's my attitude. So you get turned down today, tomorrow they'll be more receptive. That's where life is like.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that I'm learning now with the new coach that I'm learning there is that, to make the call for today, to make an appointment for today, because try to eliminate all this, follow up. because the more you follow up, the more chance there are that these people, they're going to be grabbed by anybody. And next time you call, oh, we listed with so-and-so, or we listed with somebody else. So I'm trying to eliminate all this, follow up and see if you can convince the people that meeting with me is the best thing that ever happened to them.
Wait a sec. Tony, you have a coach?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I have a coach there. Yeah, yeah, sure.
You don't know it all after 32 years?
No, that's why we go to church there every Sunday. So you can listen to the message every day, every Sunday, every Sunday. Yeah, so it doesn't matter how many times you listen, you got to get it in your head. You got to get it, because once it's out of your head, you don't remember anymore. You forget it. And another thing I want to say to all, certainly to all these new people, it doesn't matter. My routine, it can be one thing. For you, maybe something else. I met so many people that they prospect different ways. Some people you heard, they prospect on the golf course because they're good at it. Some people, I had a lady that Ron knows too, that this lady, she prospect all the bars, the happy hours that we used to have here in Florida, in Fort Lauderdale in the 80s. She used to find all these people that they were buying and selling real estate. So it doesn't matter what the routine, it's whatever you like to do. As long as you talk to at least 20 to 30 new people every day, you'll be successful. There is no doubt about it.
So that means that there's, Tony, your goal is to do 50 transactions, right? And you're doing 20 conversations minimum a day, right? That's
yeah, between
100.
20 and 30 a day. I need to
Okay,
talk
so
to 20, 30 new people, because some other business that will come from my past clients, which I call them too. But in order to grow your business, you need to talk to new people every day, every day, every day.
Right. So I want to highlight this for the audience here. So if there's just 20 a day, 5 days a week, that's 100. And your goal is to do one transaction a week. So that's a 99% failure rate. But that makes, if you're on this call and you'd be happy with a $500,000 commission in your pocket, you need to be prepared to fail 99% of the time, like Tony, by making those calls. Is that a fair assessment, Tony?
Oh, yes. Yeah, they convinced me to do that because they said, Tony, the guy that goes to bat, which I don't know anything about baseball, because in Italy, we didn't have to have baseball. So they say, the guy that goes there, if he hits the ball so many times, he makes so much money. The guy who hits the ball so many time less, he makes much less money. But that's about 2 or 3 times when he goes to bat. And he said, the rest of the time, he doesn't hit the ball. I said, really? That's the way it works. So they,
right.
they convinced me to do that.
Tony, I think the analogy there is like if you could have a 300 batting average, means you fail.
Where are you?
Hey, Abe, can you mute yourself? If you could have a 70% failure rate in the major leagues, you'll get paid tens of millions of dollars every year. And that's getting on base 3 out of 10 times. That means you fail 7 out of 10 times. And that's the analogy Tony's bringing out. And I think in real estate, you might have a 99% failure rate, but if you don't swing at the pitches, right, you're not going to get any hits.
No.
So
swinging.
Tony is telling you in his unique way that you can get an unfair advantage over your competition by taking more swings, having more conversations, right? I would take, Tony with a 1% conversion rate is going to do way better than somebody with a 50% conversion rate that has no conversations, right? Because if you have no conversations, you have no chance of getting any extra business. And if you don't build it in as part of your routine, I don't think it's going to happen. Okay.
No, the routine is so important. I just want to say a little story of this man who came under a train from Mexico. His name was Froy Candelario in Ventura County in California. Back in 1996, I went to shadow the guy because he was making millions of dollars just by knocking on 300 doors every day. I got there, and all of a sudden, he said, "We are late." I said, "What do you mean we're late?" Yeah, it's 1 minute after 8 o'clock. At 8 o'clock, I have to be out of here because at 9 o'clock, I have to be behind the door, knocking on the door. And every day he was knocking on the 300 doors every day that he was doing it. And he got the business there back then. His average price was $250,000. That was, which for California, was nothing. But here in Florida, the average price back then, it was nothing. That was nothing. So this guy was making millions, from $6 to $7 million a year, just by knocking on 300 doors every day, 5 days.
Yeah, I remember that when we went to Mike Ferry's, he
Yeah,
was there.
yeah, you remember that?
Tony?
Yes.
And this guy sold 2-bedroom, 1 bath for like, what was 300,000 back then? 300,000 or 400,000. But he was just killing it. I mean, but that was his routine. He didn't pick up the phone. He just knocked on doors all day.
Yeah, because he was Mexican and he was not that good on the phone, that he was not that good. And his routine was to knock on 300 doors every day. He said, I go back to the office when those 300 doors are over. Wow, I said, this guy is unbelievable. But that was his persistency, his consistency, his routine every day. But, like I said before, it could be different for every one of us. It's whatever you like. As long as you talk to people, you'll be okay.
So, the purpose of this meeting here is to get an awareness, and if you could build, if you're doing 0 regular prospecting, to maybe block some time for that and to measure the results. Karma is $200 an hour for prospecting, and I don't know if Tony, do you know what your return is on prospecting?
The last thing I checked was about $500 for every contact that I made. Yeah.
So is that $500? Well, you're making $1,000 a day or so. So that's and if you do your goal, that's 2,000 a day. So that's 4 hours is $500 an hour, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And you're striking out 99%.
Oh yes, and that's what you got to get better. You got to get better. Because if you can bring those numbers down, and your percentage of when you are in front of people to get the contract signed, because to be good at it, every time you make a presentation, with the seller, if you can get 75-80% out of that, that percentage there, if you can get them up to 75-80%, then you'll be good. You are good. You're going to be okay. Because the average realtor, it's about less than 10%. That's the average realtor. So if you can make it 75-80%, you are good.
No, so routine, consistency, huge contributors to the outcome that you have, right? And there's only one person that can control your state of mind, okay? And it's not the person that yells at you for calling them at 8:01 when their listing expires. Because I will bet you that Karma and Tony have both had people that have cursed at you when you called them that you've converted. I don't know the answer, but Karma, have you had anybody that was aggravated when you initially spoke to them and you were able to flip them around into a piece of closed business? I think you're on mute,
Of
Karma.
course, like everyone in this business, sometime for example, I have my neighbor, she's selling the house. So I did call her and I felt she was annoyed that I did call her. So what I did, I sent her a text message. I said, I don't mean to make you uncomfortable, but in the meantime, here is my phone number. I have a buyer for your home, so give me a call. So she called me back. So, sometimes when you get a result, when you respond to people with kindness, you will get them back.
Yep.
Well, what happened is that when we call, they are not expecting a call. Hey, Tony's going to call me today. Yeah, sure, tomorrow. Yeah. So we don't know what they are in the middle of or what you're taking away them from. there is Karen Bernardi, a very successful agent in Colorado there, and she was knocking on the door as she was in this multi-million-dollar area in Boulder, Colorado. And one lady there, she was in the middle of something or whatever. She cursed at her and get out of here. 5 minutes later, she called her back, says, I'm sorry, Karen. I know you are. I know you're very successful. I was in the middle of something, and that's why I was rude. That owner there, she was very, very appreciative that Karen was knocking on the door, on these multi-million-dollar houses in Boulder, Colorado. Another lady there from Oklahoma City, she moves down to Texas, and she had the new city, new area, new market. Nobody knows this poor soul, this poor lady, and she was calling from 9 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock at night every day to make her business going. She said at 8:30, somebody cursed her, you this and you that. On Sunday night, you called me, she kept going. And before 9 o'clock, she got 2 listing appointments that she had. She said, if I was getting scared of this guy cursing on me, I would not been doing that. I was not going to do that. But she just hung up and go to the next one. Go to the next one because they don't know you. It's nothing personal. And then they are not expecting your call. God knows in what they are doing. And you call them, certainly you never know. But just be nice about it. Say, I'm sorry I bothered you. Have a great day. Thank you very much. Have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye now. That's all.
Yeah. And Tony and Karma, do you use dialers, or how do you tee up your calls?
I get all this information download from a company. The leads, they all come from this company there that sends me the leads, and then I downloaded them. I feel comfortable, but everybody has different approach, different things that they do. But I download all the leads into Mojo, and Mojo has got 1 line, 2 line, 3 lines. So it depends who I know, who I'm calling. All the new listings, all the new expireds, all the new canceled, all the new FISBO, I call with 1 line. So that way they don't hang up, or if there is a message, I can hear it, that I can hear it there. But once I make I call them, and then the next day I may use 2 lines. And when I do cold calling in a certain area that I want listings, then certainly I do with 3 lines. And it's quick, it's fast, and you go through as fast as you can that you go through.
And Karma, how about you? You're on mute, I think.
Sure. For me, I have 5 farm areas that I send for them a community updates. And I just made a phone call, said, listen, I, mail you community updates. Just want to know if you have any questions. So
do you hand dial or use a dialer?
no, I use my cell phone, because my cell phone, it's a very quick, and they know this is my number. I call all the time. So, but this is how I can most of my business, 75% are coming from my previous client, because I follow up with them.
Wonderful.
The other thing that I want to say, especially for, the way you got to set it up is that when you make all these new calls or whatever, have a separate phone numbers where people can call back, because everybody now today has caller ID. So have a phone. I have 2 phones on my desk. One is for my office, and one is for my what do you call their routine? No, the prospecting call. So when I call people they don't know, and they see that somebody called, they call back, they go right to that phone. So that way, if I am here and pick up, or if I'm not here, there's a voicemail that they can leave a message. So don't let all those calls that you make go to your office, especially if you have a secretary and assistant, and they say, oh, somebody called me. And they'll certainly your assistant, your secretary says, I don't know who called you, when they called you. So that's the thing that the other setup that I have.
So if there are some of you that might be interested in learning more about dialers and some prospecting systems, the company has on a reservation basis for no fee to you, we pay for it, a multiple lines on Mojo, excuse me, not Mojo, Vulcan 7 and Red X. So if you're interested, if you're in Arizona, just reach out to Tyler. If you're in Florida, send a message to Elizabeth. And if you are in New Jersey, maybe just shoot me over a text and then we'll set up a training. If there's anybody interested, we'll do that. And you can just reserve time to make these calls and help you be successful. So
yeah, Vulcan is a great company there. They got the latest updated data. Red X, I used to have, that's a great company, and I yelled, I screamed, and did everything for them because I used them for, I don't know, 10, 15 years, and their data is lousy. I told the man, the owner, I said, you spend so much money on getting new business, but once you get the business, nobody knows what to do with it because your data is so obsolete. So you may want to talk to him too, to the owner, and see how updated is his data. Because
Yeah, they changed. They changed.
I hope so.
Red
Because
X
they
has
used to
changed
give
now.
me numbers of people that they sold the house 10 years ago. I
right,
don't want to talk to
right.
them.
So I think, Tony, a lot of I've been in Vulcan 7 doing calls, and I've gotten people who've had a sale a long time ago, and that, I think that happens in all of them because they'll do a shotgun approach, give you 4 numbers. You'll get, the child that has a similar name. You might get a parent of the homeowner. You might get an old number. So that's the nature of the beast. And like you said before, if you get, 20 conversations a day out of 100 calls, and you get one meaningful transaction out of 5 days of calling, I think that's probably a win. I think most of us on this call would be satisfied, generating $500,000 worth of commission income in your pocket for making yourself uncomfortable for 20 hours a week.
Oh, no,
Okay,
I appreciate your diplomacy there. I like the way you talk and everything. But the thing is that when they don't give you the phone number of the person that, is living there, that is a new owner, and this owner bought a house 5 years ago, I understand if they bought a house a year or 2 years ago, that's okay. I'll give you a pass. But when somebody is there for 5 years and you don't give me his number, but you give me the number from 10 years ago, to me, that data is obsolete. So if you talk to the man, see how updated is his data, because, it's worthless if you cannot get in touch with the right person.
So Tony, let me just even reframe that for you from, some of the hardcorest prospectors I've had, and they say that 1 out of 20 or even greater than that, people that you talk to have a real estate need coming up in the next 6 months, either buying or selling a property. So even those wrong numbers, when you get somebody on the phone, the law of probability will say that you might convert one of those, and it might be one that nobody else is calling. So, I'm not one that tries to only see sunshine. I see the dark side of the business where people get upset and they curse out at you. They say, "Where'd you get my phone number?" But if you're not willing to accept that part of the business, it's going to be hard for you to keep your mind where it needs to be sustainably successful. Okay. So in conclusion,
no, I know when I talk to people, certainly when it's a bad number or whatever, I always ask that, who do you know? Do you have any real estate plans in the next 6 months? That's true too. But like I said,
right.
I still need the phone number of the person who expired today.
Right. So the rock stars in the prospecting business are having failure rates of around 99%, but they're taking their swings in the game. We have tools that would cost you literally $600, $700, $800 a month that are available to you by just reaching out to us. We can provide you with some training. Virginia Beach, reach out to me if you're in Virginia Beach, you're interested in it. And I'll do a training or two, or I'll have somebody do a training or two, and we can kind of block some time for you to do it. And it's all about the consistency. All right. And you can take this, you're all sitting on a gold mine. What comes to mind, I see this commercial where people are like, hey, if you have life insurance over $100,000, you might be sitting on a gold mine. And then there's some people underneath, like in the gold mine. Anybody ever see that commercial?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, your database is your gold mine, everybody. You're
Yeah.
sitting on a gold mine that you're not tapping into. Okay, we all have databases. You have the one from Max Center, Bold Trail. Many of you have secondary CRMs. There's another gold mine, and we ought to be systematically tapping into that so that we can help our clients. And even if you're not as aggressive about prospecting as Tony, maybe I can strike a little bit of pain to help you avoid, which is when one of your friends or your neighbors does a transaction without you, you have to look in the mirror and say, did I abandon them? Okay, or was I in constant communication? Because if you're not in constant communication, you should expect that somebody who is in communication is going to steal your business. They're going to take your lunch. So
Oh, sure.
with
but
that
people
said,
yeah, I'm sorry.
and if anybody, Tony Vero and Karma, if anybody, wants to pick their brain, you can reach out to them directly, and let your managers know, let Elizabeth, myself, or Tyler know if you want to, schedule some time or, get
That's what you
virtual
supplying,
training.
Robert? The company supplying Vulcan or Red X? Are you supplying it or?
Yes, we do. Yep.
For
Like
free?
if you use it every day for 4 hours, Tony, we wouldn't be able to accommodate you at that level of usage. But if you
No, I
wanted
mean,
to,
but that's for free to the agent? I don't understand.
yeah, it's free to the agent.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
My gift to you. All right.
Okay, that's good.
So Tony, you got to reach out to Elizabeth, then we'll set something up.
I
Okay?
will. She knows my voice. She says, hi, Tony. I say, all right, that's good.
Yes, you have a very distinctive voice. So everybody have a wonderful, productive weekend. If you have any interest, reach out now. Don't wait. And look forward to helping everybody out and maybe adding another 6 figures to your income next year.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Rob.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a great day now.